It is 7:29 right now, and our good friend attorney Kim Baer joining us in studio right now and talking about a subject that a lot of people have to deal with in their lifetimes, especially if you're a married person. Chances are, unfortunately, really good that this topic may come up.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. So I thought maybe today we'd talk about the divorce process in Iowa. And there's some basic questions that people call us or they come in, for a free consultation that we answer. And one of them is that a lot of people don't know you have to live in Iowa for a year before you can qualify to get a divorce in Iowa. Now, that doesn't mean that you both have to live here. It just means that one of you has to live here for a year, and then the person that doesn't live here has to consent that they'll get a divorce in Iowa. So you've got that. Then, it's equitable division in Iowa. A lot of people hear about community property and things like that if they watch TV. But in Iowa, it's equitable division. And what that typically means is 50-50.
I was going to say, what does equitable mean?
Yes. So what that really means is that the court's going to take into consideration all sorts of factors. For example, if you and I were married, but you were having an affair with Jackie, and let's say you bought her expensive jewelry and you bought her a car, and you did that all during the marriage, then I have an argument to say, look, you spent, $50,000, $60,000, whatever it is on Jackie, and that was our marital money. So when we're dividing things up, I should get that money on my side, because you shouldn't, if we divide everything up and you've already spent money on her, then that's not fair.
So you should get all that money or half of it?
No, well, my argument would be all, but maybe half. I certainly should get some credit for money that it's called dissipation of marital assets. So I should get some credit for that. We also look at things like gambling, drug and alcohol abuse. So if there's been, but when we're talking about those things, because it's no fault divorce, so it's really only relevant to property division.
And what does that mean as well?
With no fault divorce, it just means that if you and I are married and we're going to get divorced, I don't have to have a reason. I don't have to come in and prove that you're a bad person or that you cheated on me or anything like that. All I have to say is, look, this marriage is over. The counseling won't cure it, and I want to get divorced. And a lot of times that's hard for one of the spouses to accept, because sometimes, if we're married and I've checked out, but you still love me and you still want to work on it, there's not too much you can do to stop the process.
But isn't there a counseling law that
yes,
can go into effect?
That's exactly where I was going to go, Jackie. Excellent point. In Iowa, you can ask that I be required to go to counseling with you, and it's mandatory. I don't have any option.
It's mandatory.
Yeah, I can't say no, I'm not going to do that. And so, because a lot of times people will come in and say, one of the first questions I've asked, have you tried counseling? And sometimes they'll say, yes, I've tried it, it doesn't work, so we're done. Or they'll say, I ask him to go or I ask her to go and she won't go. And so I always tell the client, look, do you want to try counseling? Because we can force the person to go. Now, having said that, you can force the horse to go to the lake, but is the horse going to drink the water? Right, I don't know. I will say that I have had cases where sometimes counseling helps. And while we're in the process of breaking up the marriage, because that's what people hire us for, we don't want to break up the marriage if it's not right or if both people aren't 150% sure. So we encourage people to go to counseling. And if Another point I'll make, let's say that you and I are getting divorced and I filed for divorce and you ask for counseling, so we both go to counseling, and then I call into the Baer Law office and say, hey, I'm not sure about this counseling thing, but maybe Jackie's going to change, maybe it'll work, because of course it's going to be Jackie's fault.
Obviously.
Wouldn't be my fault. But one of the things that you can do in the court process is you can slow it down, or you can put it on pause, because the courts likewise don't want to force you to get a divorce just because you filed.
Does that make it cost more?
No, it really doesn't. It just what we do is we just file a motion with the court and say we're on pause because they're trying to see if they can work it out. And we encourage people to do that rather than to dismiss it, because if we dismiss it and then 2 months from now, you call and say, hey, we tried counseling, things were getting better, but now we're right back where we are. I want to file again. Well, now we've got another $185 for a filing.
You have to start all
over again.
How long? I know when you're in certain things, you have like a 2-year window that you can do things? What's the window if you do put it on hold?
There's not really any window, other than I will tell you that in Iowa, pursuant to the Supreme Court guidelines, from the date the action was filed, we have 9 months to get it tried. So we have 9 months to try and get it done. Now, do divorces go past that? Yes, they do. And you have to have a good reason. And certainly a good reason would be, Your Honor, they're in counseling. Can we continue this another 3, 4, 5 months? I've not had a case where, in 28 years, where a judge has said, no, they're going to get divorced by gosh right now. So
Time is up, yeah.
Exactly. Because, like I said, we don't want to
Have
force
you seen
people
that work where people have put it on hold and then they were able to reconcile?
Yes. And I've seen people. I have one client in my office that holds the record. That person filed for divorce 4 times. 3 times we dismissed, and the 4th time it stuck. So we got them divorced. But so that person holds the record. But the other thing that you want to make sure that your attorney understands, and most attorneys do, is this is about you. This is about your life, and this is a big decision, especially if you have children. So you want to be 150% sure, and there should be no embarrassment. The person that we dismissed it for 3 times, every single time the wife or the husband would call and say, I'm really embarrassed to tell you this. And I said, no embarrassment. This is about your life, so.
What's the mandatory time if you have to do counseling, whether you want to or you don't want to? What is the mandatory time that you have to go?
My recollection is that the court can order you to go to counseling for up to 6 months. That's my recollection. I'd want to double check on that, but there's no real set time period. And basically what we're trying to do is, let's say that you and I are married and we're court ordered to go to counseling, and we go to counseling, and I tell the counselor right off the bat, it doesn't matter what Lou says, it doesn't matter what he does, I'm done. He had an affair with Jackie and I'm done. And so what the counselor will do then is write a letter that says the marriage cannot be saved. So,
they will.
Yeah. Okay. And so once I've got that letter, then then
you can
at least you try.
Then you can proceed. Then you can proceed.
Okay. So what are some other things we should know?
Yes. So once it gets filed, so if you file for divorce, then as soon as the other party is served or they've accepted service, and so they know that there's a divorce on file, there's a 90-day waiting period. So during that 90 days, it's a cooling off period. Again, we don't want to encourage people to just get mad and run out and get a divorce. And so during that 90 days, I know in our office, we work with our clients to do their financial affidavits because those are required. You have to go, if you have kids, you have to go, minor children, you have to go to a class called Children in the Middle. It's really good. It's a good class. And then you also have to file child support guidelines.
Within those 90 days?
At the end of those 90 days, there's what's called a pretrial, and that's when all of that stuff gets filed, and we have full disclosure of assets and debts and things like that. And
is this something where both parties are, kind of forced to be in the same room, or is this something the lawyers just hash out?
Nope, that's something the lawyers just hash out, and we exchange documents. And so then after the 90 days at the pretrial, if we don't have things resolved yet, we don't have a divorce decree in place, or we're just about settled, then you're court ordered to go to mediation. Now, it does differ county to county. So in the 5th district, which is, central Iowa, you've got 45 days then to go to mediation. And sometimes we ask to continue that because we're in the process of trying to work things out and we don't want the cost of mediation. But mediation is great. You go with your lawyer, the other side goes with their lawyer. You typically sit in separate rooms. You hire a lawyer who's experienced in family law to help mediate the case, and they kind of help with creative ideas and go back and forth. And I would say 90 to 95% of the cases settle at mediation.
But you said that is an extra cost.
That is an extra cost, absolutely, because you've got to pay your lawyer and then you have to pay for half the mediator. So, but
wow,
but is
it's a long process?
It is a long process. I mean, if it's an uncontested divorce, then we don't even go to mediation. We just start working on all the paperwork right away so we can get you divorced within like the 90 to 100 days. In uncontested divorces, there's a lot of lawyers out there that offer flat fees, so you want to ask about that. Okay. In our office, if you don't have children, it's $18.50, and that includes all the court costs and the paperwork. If you have children, it's $23.50 because we have to do extra paperwork, and that again includes the paperwork. But it doesn't include mediation. It doesn't include, if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, it's uncontested. We've agreed on how we're going to do everything," and then they get in a fight and somebody hits the other person over the head with the frying pan, and now we've got to go to court for domestic and all of that. Well, guess what? Now it's not uncontested. So then it becomes contested, and we just bill against that retainer until we need more money. So
okay, wow. So there's so many different hoops you need to jump through, aren't
there are. You know, and a lot of people try to do divorces on their own these days, and the paperwork's on the Supreme Court website. And so I would just caution people that if money really is an issue and you think you can't afford an attorney, it's probably worth at least hiring an attorney towards the end for an hour to review your draft agreement to make sure you've dotted all the I's and you've crossed all the T's. Because if you forget something and you get divorced, you're done. It's very difficult to go back and open it back up unless there's fraud, or unless there was, like if you and I agreed that I was going to take the Ford and you were going to take the Chevy, and we forgot to put that in there and we're in agreement, then we can go back and modify it.
Modify it a little bit.
Yeah, but
wow.
A
lot of things to keep in mind
Absolutely.
in case this happens. But if you want to get a hold of Kim, what's the easiest way to find you?
279-2000. Just give us a call. We offer a free 30-minute consultation. So.
Yeah. And she helped sculpt the butter cow this year. So
I did.
Kind of a big deal.
I loved it. It was a blast.
So if you need someone to design and sculpt a little butter creation for your Thanksgiving holiday meal, Kim would be the person to contact for that too.
I do turkeys.
Okay, little turkey stick of butter.
Yeah.
Just perfect. Kim Baer, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, it is 7:41 right now, and when we come back next week especially, right about this time, things will be abuzz over in Boone. We'll talk about what's happening super national-wise coming up in just a little bit on CW Iowa Live.